title of the print is Smile Now, Cry Later, and it's based off of what's on her arm, a tattoo. And that's actually, it's kind of an old barrio kind of, myth or wisdom, right? It's old barrio wisdom, smile now, cry later. Which, for a boxer, means quite a bit. I mean, it talks about the aggression, right? You're going to overpower me. Yeah, you think so now, but later when I get you, you're going to be crying, right? That sort of thing. And also in the barrio, you see that a lot of the pinta kind of tattoos referring to, oh, you're feeling so great about that thing that you were stealing, or the activity that you were doing that you're thinking you were getting away with it. Well, guess what? Now you're in prison, so now you're crying. Smile now, cry later. Something to think about before you indulge into these activities, right? And so that it becomes like I say, an old barrio wisdom that gets tattooed onto the arms. Series I was doing on female boxers, women boxers, and I was working with Teresa Marquez, who is the writer, and she had been interested in female boxing for a long time, and all of a sudden it kind of piqued my interest. And I decided that was kind of a venture that I wanted to go off on. What I really wanted to find out was who were female boxers, and why did they go into this sport? Because certainly that wasn't anything that I would want. So what I found is that in our population, female population, there's a certain amount of women that like combat sport. It's just that they couldn't do it. They were barred from it, banned from it. It wasn't until like 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, where professional boxing actually opened up for female boxing. And female boxers were not allowed in the boxing industry. They weren't sanctioned. And it's only been out there for about 12 years now that it's been sanctioned, right? And so what that means is that all of a sudden there's these women that now can go after a combat sport. And so you see women coming in from many different walks of life, with that kind of that natural tendency, that desire for a combat sport. But so when I started shooting this female boxing, I knew that I needed to get a large negative, right? And the only cameras that would get that kind of negative for me, even with the digital cameras that were coming out at the time, they were way too expensive to, get that kind of file size and such. So I knew I wanted to go with a medium format. And the medium format cameras don't have automatic focus on them. And they don't have like motor drives on them, and they don't have all that stuff. They're just really basic cameras, right? Well, yeah. Well, actually, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, but I didn't stay there long. My father was in the Air Force, and I was born on the Air Base there. Eventually, we went back to New Mexico, and then from New Mexico, we went back to Texas. From Texas, we went up to my father's family, which was up in Omaha, Nebraska. So I basically grew up in Omaha, Nebraska, a long, long, long time ago. And then I went back to New Mexico, and that's where I got my undergraduate and graduate work done. And I worked there as a medical photographer for about 10 years. Eventually I got into various teaching positions, first in California, and then I took on a position in Western Massachusetts. And then I went back to New Mexico and picked up a position in Houston. So I'm in Houston now, and I just became an associate professor at the University of Houston, which has been very nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Photography is your primary artistic medium?
Yes, I would say so. I mean, I started off doing commercial arts and drawing and that, but eventually the camera.
Yeah, because both your prints with us are photographs, right?
Yeah, they're basically photographs, But I was more interested in photo printmaking in college than in straight photography, because I had already done a lot of straight photography already, so I wanted to learn how to kind of manipulate a photograph. And then once I got out of doing my college work and such, the computer came in, so it was just such a natural thing for me to just kind of go right into the computer, because I understood how to manipulate a photograph, because I had done it by hand to printmaking. I always say that Photoshop is really a printmaker's tool. It has all the information for a printmaker. It's not really a photographer's tool. I mean, a photographer can use it, but it makes more sense to a photo printmaker. you know what that is.
Yeah.
You know what they're doing with those layers and those masks and all that, because that's what we used to do. Yeah. One, early on in my photo career, I used to photograph sports, but I used to use these old clunky cameras, you know, and because I couldn't afford anything else, right, you know, and it was like for small town newspapers and things like that that I was photographing for. Many times on like these sports events, I'd show up with my little clunky camera, which was nothing really, and there would be all these sports photographers with their big lenses and automatic, you know, lines and, you know, automatic focus and all of that, right, you know, and they'd look at me with my little crunchy little camera, right, you know, and I'm taking these like these shots. I learned how to like pull focus, so I didn't need the automatic focus. I learned how to pull the focus. I was trained by these old. Actually, they were Vietnam photographers. So I was trained by Vietnam photographers on how to pull focus and how to handle a camera. I was at a community college that I was going there. I remember the first time I was starting to shoot, like for journalism, right? And I was really intimidated. I was very young. I was really intimidated. And this one sports guy, you know, he just kind of came up to me and told me, he goes, "You just got to act like you own the place." And I thought, oh, I think I can do that. You know, I find that the studio, I used to print for Self-Help Graphics in Los Angeles, and I did a number of prints with them. And I have to say that Sam has really built up a really great studio here. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, this is Sam's place and all that, but I have to, you know, I've told people, you know, he has a great little setup here. He really does.